Okay, next question from the audience. And Steve, it goes to you first.
Okay.
How will you address domestic violence as a whole in Pine County? How will you address domestic violence as a whole in Pine County?
Domestic violence, without a doubt, is one of the biggest problems in any community, not just Pine County. It is a problem nationwide, it is a problem worldwide, and it's something that needs to be fixed, but it is a very difficult issue. You have a woman confronted oftentimes with the person that's beating her, being the breadwinner of the family. You have fears about the family being destroyed. How am I going to feed my children? What are they going to do? Where am I going to live? These are issues. I've been trying to work on this issue for a long time. When I was up at St. Louis County, I was on the advisory board for the Range Women's Advocates. When I started here in Pine, I was a board member for Wyndham for a time. The issues are difficult. They call it the cycle of violence. And the reality is, it's the exception to the rule that a woman is willing to come forward and testify in a case. This is one of the biggest problems that confronts the county in general. Cases cannot proceed to trial without a witness to testify. A recorded statement is no good. A written statement is no good. When you watch TV, that's what they call hearsay. You actually have to have the person present to testify. You have a constitutional right to confront and cross-examine your accuser. We need to try and build relationships with the victims to convince them that this cycle cannot continue, that it cannot go forward with their children. That's why I take the time to meet with all my victims. I explain to them the court process. I try and take the fear out of it. I explain the possible outcomes. I explain after court what happened. This is not something new for me. I've been doing this for a long time. A while ago, there was a big case here in Pine, most of you know about. A drunk driver killed a husband and wife in a head-on collision on Highway 7. I took the time to meet with them before every court hearing. After every hearing, I talked to them and explained what had just happened. I told them, call me if you have any questions. I have an open door policy because it's scary and it's difficult and confusing to navigate the legal system when you don't know what's going on. They had an advocate from Mothers Against Drunk Driving with them, and she was so impressed with what I did. She nominated me for the 2011 statewide Mad Choice Award, and I won the award. That commitment to victims and the community is what I would bring forth in dealing with domestic violence with victims, and I would continue to work with Wyndham and other advocacy groups to try and eliminate this issue and create a solution.
Thank you. Reese, how would you address domestic violence as a whole in Pine County?
Well, domestic violence is one of the most difficult cases that you can prosecute. Obviously, a lot of victims recant. I've actually tried domestic violence jury trials. I have not lost one of those. I've been successful at doing them. However, the Supreme Court has gutted the state's ability to try a domestic violence case, have reduced some of the evidence that can come in. It is extremely difficult and frustrating. A lot of these cases, you have to plead them down because you don't get a lot of cooperation with them. And I too meet with victims. I have great relationship with victims, and in fact, attorneys are legally required to meet with victims. If a prosecutor does not engage with a victim, they can lose their license. That's the fact of the matter. A lot of victims that I meet with are so impressed that we have long-term relationships. We continue to meet with each other, talk to each other, update. I take personal interest in their lives, and I really hope for the best. All I really want to see is somebody get better, somebody get to a better situation, and I care about every person that I help when I'm prosecuting a crime. Regarding domestic violence cases, part of the problem too is a lot of them do not get charged in this county. I was up in Sturgeon Lake about 2 weeks ago and knocked on this guy's door. He came out and asked me the same question about domestic violence cases, and I wondered why he was asking me this. He pulled up his shirt and he showed me a 3-inch scar across his chest. He was attacked during a custody exchange with a knife. Charges were never brought, despite witnesses, despite the knife, despite the shirt, despite medical personnel being there. The county attorney's office refused to charge it, and they put it under the old claim that it was a he said, she said thing, and they're not going to get a conviction out of it. That excuse is not viable. There are modern methods to prosecuting domestic violence cases. I will ensure that my prosecutors go to these trainings and understand modern methods of prosecution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next question goes to Reese first. Slightly long. Communication between employees of the jail, sheriff's office, county attorney, and court administration is very important. Can you give examples of how you've used relationships between offices to prosecute and get convictions? I'll read that for you.
Thank you.
Communication between employees of the jail, sheriff's office, county attorney, and court administration is very important. Can you give examples of how you've used relationships between offices to prosecute and get convictions?
Well, when I became a lawyer, somebody told me that the most important thing about being a lawyer is not the law, it's the relationships that you form. I have tremendous relationships with all those employees, and I can give examples on each of those. For instance, relationships with the jail. Jail staff call me directly with questions, and they talk about what's happening with the current inmate. Sometimes that's helpful when I try a case. They tell me, well, this inmate's been talking to so-and-so. Jail calls are recorded, so they provide me with recordings. That's helpful intelligence, and I answer a lot of their questions. It's a two-way street. Other employees, such as court administration, I talk to them daily. The court administrator is one of the most important people that you can know as an attorney, because they're going to get your case through, they're going to schedule you. They have a lot of control over your life as an attorney, so I have an important relationship with them. I had a case where a juror, halfway through trying a jury case, admitted that he knew the defendant and lied about his relationship with the defendant. The only reason I knew about that was because the court administrator was vigilant and came and told me that, yep, we have documentation that this juror knows this defendant, so I was able to prosecute that person. Regarding the sheriff's office, I have daily communication with the sheriff's office with investigators, and that's important too because they keep me updated with all my cases, and they let me know on what's been happening since I charged the case, and they let me know when there's new evidence. And an important thing about relationship with the sheriff's department is that I'll come to them when I want to try a case and say, you know, this is what I'm thinking about doing. They'll say, well, wait a minute, Reese, did you think about A, B, and C? And a lot of times I haven't, and they've actually helped me win a lot of my cases through their knowledge. So across the board, communication is important. I believe in face-to-face communication. I don't believe in writing letters to people, asking them for things. I actually stand up from my desk, I walk downstairs to the sheriff's office, the jail, I find the person, and I talk to them directly.
Steve? Communication between employees of the jail, sheriff's office, county attorney, and court administration is very important. Can you give examples of how you've used relationships between offices to prosecute and get convictions?
These relationships are essential. I'll go through one by one. With regard to the jail, we get reports all the time that come in from law enforcement officers, but we also get supplements from jailers. Corrections officers working in the jail frequently give us invaluable information that's necessary for prosecuting these cases. When people are booked into the jail, they're searched, they make statements, and these are the things that oftentimes can make the difference in a case. Oftentimes, when they're searched at the jail, we'll find drugs or weapons, other contraband. This then leads to additional charges, or it can supplement existing charges in the form of statements they might make to the jailers. We also get recordings from the jail. There are people that monitor the recordings in the jail, and these oftentimes give us invaluable evidence. We've had people that have made threats to witnesses during recorded phone calls to the jail. We've had people make admissions to offenses, and without this cooperation and work together, we wouldn't oftentimes be able to pursue these charges. We have great staff in the jail that also is responsible for programming. One of those gentlemen is sitting in this room today, and he will frequently call us and tell us what's going on with individuals and what they can do for programming. We've had people tell us that when they've been in our jail, this is kind of sad, that they like our jail, that it's one of the best jails that they've been to, and that the staff has been great, and that the programming has changed their lives. This is the quality of individuals that we have working in our jail. And it is a collaborative effort. It is teamwork. And court administration is a vital part of that as well. As we said, the court administrator's office is the one that controls the dockets. They set the caseload for the judges. And that's an interesting thing too. There was reference made to cases being dismissed on the day of trial. That's not true. Pine County has what's called a calendar call. Every case that's set for jury trial is set on one day. That calendar call then is done by the judge, and the judge then determines the order. We do not dismiss a case until that day, because I have had cases where witnesses have been unable to be located until that day. I want justice to be done, and if they haven't returned a subpoena, we have found them and been able to go to trial because we did not dismiss in advance of that calendar call. But would I dismiss on the day of trial with the jury there? Absolutely not. I would have done it before that because it would be a waste of tax dollars.